It's Tuesday night. He texts you love 3 hours after you sent something that took real courage to send. You check your phone 40 times in that stretch. And here's the part that gets you, you're not even officially together. You don't technically have the right to feel this wrecked over a maybe relationship. But you do. And that right there is exactly what we're going to talk about. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why the relationship with no label can wreck you more than a real breakup, and why your brain treats "we're kind of a thing" as more dangerous than "we're not a thing at all." Once you see why, you'll never look at a situationship the same way again. Because the reason it messes with your head isn't about him or her or the person leaving you on read for 6 hours. It goes back about 200,000 years to a time when knowing exactly where you stood with someone wasn't a nice to have. It was survival information. And your brain is still running that exact same check today on a person who hasn't texted back since lunch. Let's call her Maya. Maya has been seeing someone for 4 months. They've met each other's friends. They text every day. They've slept over more times than either of them is counting out loud. But if you asked Maya what they are, she'd have to shrug. And that shrug, that small, specific uncertainty, is doing more damage to her nervous system than an actual breakup would. Here's why. In 1969, a psychiatrist named John Bowlby was studying what happens to children when their caregiver's availability becomes uncertain. He found something called protest behavior, a spike in anxious, attention-seeking action that happens not when the bond is gone, but when the bond is unclear, not lost, unclear. The system doesn't know whether to grieve or relax, so it does neither. It just stays on. Your brain does this exact thing with a situationship. A clean breakup gives you an answer. Painful, but an answer. A situationship gives you nothing to resolve. And a system with no resolution doesn't calm down. It escalates. Now here's where it gets weirder. There's a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz who ran a study on dopamine, the brain chemical everyone thinks is about pleasure. Turns out it isn't. It's about prediction. Schultz found that dopamine neurons fire hardest, not when a reward arrives, but when a reward is uncertain. A guaranteed treat barely registers. A treat that might or might not show up sends the signal into overdrive. I'm going to come back to that because it explains something about your phone that you are not going to like. Pay attention to this next part. Picture a group of 30 people. 200,000 years ago. That's your entire world. Every ally, every meal, every ounce of protection you have. In that world, knowing your exact status with the people around you wasn't emotional, it was logistical. Are you two allies sharing meat and protection? Or are you not? Because the answer determined whether you ate this week. There was no in-between category. The tribe didn't have room for kind of. This is not a character flaw in you. This is not you being dramatic. This is not you being too much. This is an alliance detection system built over 200,000 years, refusing to power down until it gets a signal it can actually use. And this is the part I didn't want to include because it made me a little uncomfortable too. Researchers who study mate selection, David Buss is the name you'd look up, have found that humans read commitment signals constantly and automatically without even meaning to. Consistency, public acknowledgement, future planning. These are romantic bonus points. They're data. Your brain is quietly scoring every interaction for exactly one thing. Can I safely invest in this? A situationship gives you just enough data to start investing. The late night calls, the meeting the friends, the routine, and then yanks the one piece of data that would let you stop scanning. The label. The public, resolved, no longer ambiguous status. So you keep scanning. Forever. That's not neediness. That's an unfinished calculation running in the background of your entire day. Here's what nobody tells you about why this feels worse than being single. Being single is a resolved state. Your brain has already filed it. A situationship is an open file. And open files biologically cost energy every single day, whether you're checking your phone or not. Let's bring in Jake for a second. Jake's friend told him, "At least you're not getting hurt. You're not official. But Jake was more anxious in that situationship than he'd ever been in an actual relationship. Because at least in a relationship, the rules are agreed on. In a situationship, the rules reset every single time either person feels like it. And a system with no fixed rules can never fully relax. It has to keep checking the rules are still the rules. Stay with me, because the next part is why I actually made this video. Remember that dopamine study? The one where uncertain rewards fire the brain harder than guaranteed ones? That's not a coincidence with situationships. It's the exact same mechanism. The unpredictability isn't a side effect of the situationship. It's the reason it's so hard to walk away from. Your brain isn't confused about whether this is good for you. It's addicted to not knowing. And here's the uncomfortable twist. The more inconsistent someone is, hot one week, distant the next, the harder your brain fights to stay, not the easier. Because inconsistency is exactly the pattern that made ancestral dopamine spike the hardest. You are not weak for staying longer than you should have. You're running the most powerful reward pattern your brain has ever evolved to chase. This is not you being clingy. This is not you lacking self-respect. This is not proof that something is wrong with you. This is 200,000 years of alliance tracking, reward prediction machinery, doing exactly what it was built to do in a relationship structure that didn't exist when it was built. Because here's the thing your ancestors never had to deal with, a bond that's real enough to hurt, but too undefined to name. 200,000 years ago, that category simply did not exist. You were allies, or you weren't. Now you can share a bed, a group chat, an entire emotional world with someone, and still not know what you are to them. Your alarm system was never built for that gap, so it just keeps ringing. Your brain is not broken. It's a 200,000-year-old alliance detector doing its very best in a dating landscape it never evolved to read. And the moment you actually understand that, not just hear it, understand it, something shifts. Because you stop asking, what's wrong with me for caring this much? You start asking, what would it take to get an actual answer? So here's what I want you to take from this. First, the anxiety you feel in an undefined relationship is not proof you're too invested. It's proof your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do with unresolved status. Second, the reason it hurts more than being single is that being single is a closed file, and a situationship is an open one, quietly draining you every day it stays open. Third, and this is the one that actually changes something, the fix is not to obsess less. It's to ask for the label, one time, clearly, not as a test, not as an ultimatum, just as a request for the one thing your nervous system has been begging for the whole time, a closed file. Whatever the answer is, your alarm system finally gets to stand down. I want to know, have you ever been more anxious in a situationship than in an actual relationship? Tell me in the comments, because I have a feeling I already know how many of you are going to say yes.